Man, Nintendo sure cooked, didn't they? Tears of the Kingdom amiibo, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, more Pikmin 4 news, but, most importantly, PD Piranha is back, boys! Say hello to my new Mario Kart 8 Deluxe main. We feastin' tonight! Anyways, this video will be breaking down the trailer for Super Mario Bros. Wonder, set to release in October of this year. We haven't seen a Super Mario Bros. Game since 2012 with the release of Super Mario Bros. U. That's well over a decade, and given how stale and lifeless the recent entries were, I'm very happy with what Wonder has already shown. There's so much personality and love put into this game, whether it be the animations or overall aesthetic. But enough of that, let's break down this trailer and talk about everything you might have missed. The trailer opens up with a shot of what I assume is this game's World 1-1 level. On the top left is our UI for this game, where we see the number of coins, what I assume is meant to be a purple flower-like coin collectible, and the player's total lives. Below that is what might be an additional power-up slot where we can store one extra power-up similar to past games. Throughout the entire trailer, we get to see these flower-like characters who also talk to you when in the levels. Most of what they say isn't worth breaking down, though this first one's comment of onward and upward makes me wonder if the overall goal of this game is to ascend upwards. It also might be related to the world itself, since the world map for the first world has you ascend step by step until the end. Mario proceeds to run past this floating flower bulb, and we'll see its functionality later in the trailer. We see breakable blocks, question mark blocks, the mushroom power-up, a pipe, and some Goombas sleeping peacefully. For now. On the top of this tree are two regular coins and that new purple flower coin. These vary in size as well as how much each size gives Mario. In this case, it equates to a single coin. Right before the shot cuts, we see another one, only this time it's different. As expected, this will increase his coin count by 10. Our next shot is of a different level. We see another enemy of the series, a walking piranha plant, as well as these music blocks that make sound if either Mario or an enemy steps on it. But what's really neat is what you see in the background. Usually the background includes aesthetic-only things, but we can clearly see some coins, music blocks, pipes, question mark blocks, and one of those flower bulbs. In later shots, we see players going between different layers of a level, so this means that many of these locations will have us going between the foreground and background. This is always a welcome addition for side-scroller games as it adds an extra layer of depth to it, quite literally.
Oh my gosh, is that a Zonai swirl?
In the next shot, Mario bounces on two separate hippo-like creatures. The first acts as a sort of trampoline, and the second starts rolling to the right, crushing a group of Goombrats. It's similar to how Koopa shells work, except these are a lot bigger and bouncier, and getting hit by one won't damage Mario. Rather, it pushes him a bit. As Mario's collecting this flower token, a pop-up appears to the top right, showing us that he's collected one of 3. This only shows up when the player grabs the 10 ones, so perhaps each level will only have 3. Following this, we see Mario slide across a series of platforms providing him with a speed boost. The direction of this boost is shown on the platforms themselves, and the top platform is on its own set of rails. After it drops down, Mario jumps on it and holds on to the ceiling as he slides across the gap. It's really cool to see him grab the ceiling, and it makes me wonder if this is a feature exclusive to this block, or if Mario will be able to grab the ceiling of other blocks, and even climb to the left or right. Below him are some shell-like enemies with spikes which jump upwards. Rather than jumping individually, all of them leap at once as a group. I like how they turn their heads to look towards Mario when on the ground. A ton of work was clearly put into the animations of this game, giving each character and enemy their own personality, and honestly, you could make an entire video solely covering that one topic. In addition, we see that one function of these flower bulbs is to spawn in coins when touched. This same effect is seen on the 2 coins at the beginning of the shot, meaning that these were also connected to a flower bulb. At the end of this shot is a purplish cloud, and while I assume it's a new enemy, it doesn't appear to react to Mario as he passes it. Mario then jumps into a stream of water coming from this rain cloud, letting him swim upwards. We get a glimpse of a red Koopa and Paratroopa, along with a rectangular question mark block and talking flower atop the first cloud. There's another one of these flowers at the beginning of the shot, as well as some music blocks and another flower bulb. This one is interesting though. Unlike all the others, it's made up of a solid gold color. So does interacting with this do something else? These talking flowers also might exist to act as a sort of guide explaining the game's mechanics. Speaking of the water, it appears that standing atop a cloud causes it to stop pouring water down. Next, Mario runs alongside a new variation of Koopa, equipped with roller skates. As Mario gets close to the third tree, an M block appears out of thin air. I'm not sure what purpose this has, since character-exclusive blocks only make sense in levels with multiple characters. Perhaps it'll be like 3D World, where you need to enter the level with a specific character to trigger the block. Anyways, aside from the gorgeous backdrop and the fact that these Koopas have pink shells, nothing else in particular sticks out. Actually, hold on a second. Is that a shadow being cast by Mario onto the tree? Okay, that's a really cool detail. Followed up is a close-up shot of Mario running across the level, confirming that these checkpoint flags are back. He then enters this seemingly pointless pipe, but two details I love are 1, the animation of him grabbing his hat after entering, and 2, these flowers aren't talking to Mario, they're actually communicating with each other via the pipe, which is just adorable. This is where things get rather wacky. Mario touches another one of these flower bulbs, but rather than spawning in coins, they spawn in these pipes, along with a new type of flower called a Wonder Flower. Touching this item makes everything go wild. All of the pipes come to life and start moving up and down. One even transforms into a pipe worm once Mario lands on it. This also spawns in groups of flower tokens bathed in spotlights. But unlike the others, each one is equal to 1/10 of a flower token. So what exactly is going on here? Well, rather than being a power-up, it's more so an item that drastically changes that level in some way. And it's not just the pipes in the foreground which start moving, the background also changes to match the state. In the presentation, they state that the effects range from the ground moving to Mario being transformed into something. So there will be some cases where it will act as a sort of power-up. One small detail is this plant, which sort of looks like the other ones. However, this one has a grayish stone color. Is this just part of the background, or maybe these flower buds become inactive in this changed version of the world? It's interesting that we have different colors of flower bulbs, and that 2 of the 4 we see do different things. The first spawns in coins, and the second is linked to that level's Wonder event. It leaves you wondering what the others are going to do. And in this shot where Mario touches the flower bulb, another one of the same color is right behind him. So is this also connected to a Wonder event? In addition, these small flower tokens worth 1/10 of a token appear to only be in these Wonder events. Prior to hitting the Wonder Flower, the counter has no decimal point value. In the next shot, we're taken to another level with more rolling hippos, but this time there's a giant one to the right. Once again, the background changes to a field of rolling hippos. Atop the huge one is what's referred to as a Wonder Seed. This is a sort of collectible in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which we'll see more of later. However, unlike the previous shot, in this one there's a timer counting down. This probably means that upon triggering the Wonder Flower, the player has a limited amount of time to collect the Wonder Seed before it disappears. In case you're curious as to how to know if a shot is in the Wonder Flower state, the corners of the screen will get this dreamy sort of effect. The next scene takes place in another one of these states, and while it's a short clip, we see that Mario can change his length, possibly depending on the input. In his squished position, he's seen crouching, so perhaps pressing up and down is what adjusts his height. The trees in the background also stretch and squish in unison with Mario, and while there's a stretched Goomba to the right of him, it doesn't seem to be affected by the player's input. Another one of those talking flowers is on the right, and I have to say that I adore this level's art style. The next sequence shows Mario transformed into a spiky red ball rolling down the level. A new enemy is seen flying off the screen, so it was killed sometime before the shot began. We see Mario break his way through numerous blocks, passing by 3 more flowers. The shot ends right before he crushes these 2 spinies. The next footage is of another Wonder Flower bit, where Mario rides atop a herd of sheep-like animals. They also appear in the foreground as well as the background. These creatures destroy the goalposts, similar to what happens in past titles with Mario and the Mega Mushroom. It's possible that this flagpole is actually a red herring, and that there's more to this level, especially since the design of the flag is different to how it usually looks in these games. In fact, later on we see the more traditional looking goalpost marking the end of this level. It's also worth noting that as we pass the goalpost here, this house looks completely normal. In our later example, the house has a different look prior to completing the level, so this also further suggests that the one previously isn't actually the end. The design of the flag in the shot with the sheep resembles the shape and colors of the purple flower tokens. Another one of these talking flowers is flying to the left of the house, and right before it cuts to the next shot, we see 4 of these flower tokens and a single coin drop from above. But one detail that's easily missed is located on Mario. In the last second, this strange looking creature pops up from behind his head. It's the same creature present on the official box art for this game, resembling a sort of baby wiggler. Like our rolling hippos, this also has a timer, so maybe there's a Wonder Seed attached to this world event. Speaking of Wonder Seeds, we're taken back to the level with the moving pipes where Mario collects one of that level's Wonder Seeds. There's still one more to get, so perhaps the completion of a level rewards us with that last one. Immediately after getting it, this level reverts to its normal state, again suggesting that all of these Wonder Flowers are connected to a Wonder Seed. With that said, it's possible that some of them will not give us seeds and will be mandatory for completing the level. In later shots, we also see that certain Wonder Seeds will be found using other means. We finally get our first look at the game's world map. In the top left, there's an additional counter showing how many Wonder Seeds we've collected. Like other games' collectibles, these will likely be used to unlock additional levels and for overall game progression. Two other icons are on the bottom right. I assume that this one's to open the pause/settings menu, and the other resembles a chat box. It might also be a sort of photo or gallery mode given the image is of a landscape. The first level is called Welcome to the Flower Kingdom. Either this is the name of the world itself, or of the entire kingdom this game takes place in. The latter would also explain why the collectibles, characters, and overall aesthetics are plant/flower based. On the bottom left of the image is the total number of Wonder Seeds in that level, along with a difficulty rating. I'm curious as to whether the amount of Wonder Seeds in a level will increase over time. It's also rather odd that there's no sort of icon showing the flower tokens, since they're the equivalent of the 3 giant coins in past Mario Bros. Titles. So does it not track the completion progress of them? The next level teased is Piranha Plants on Parade. Like the other one, this also has 2 Wonder Seeds and a difficulty rating of 1 star. Past this is one more level, 1 empty space, and the end of this world. Lastly, we have confirmation that Luigi is a playable character since he's the one currently in the world map. This roster expands to Peach in the following clip. She chases down an enemy who later gets hit with a red shell. Right behind this creature is a single flower token, which the red shell collects similar to coins. So perhaps these enemies hold a number of these tokens, and they'll try to flee with them when they spot you. The shell also breaks this weird looking object when struck. Next is footage of a yellow toad bouncing on what looks like a balloon fish. The 2 variants shown off are a big green one and a smaller, more pinkish type. Jumping on one propels it forward, and similar to a balloon, it will slightly deflate. The amount of bounces we can get off one likely correspond to its size and color. These clouds will also probably hold secrets such as coins and collectibles. Followed up is this shot, and there's a ton to unpack here. First is the inclusion of Daisy in this game. It's the first time she's ever appeared in a mainline Mario game, which is rather odd when you think about it. Here we can see her pushing a pipe that's also being pushed by a new enemy. What's interesting is the odd shape of the pipe this enemy is standing on. It looks like this puzzle involves moving this pipe to reattach it to the bottom, allowing us to use it to access the background area. Speaking of the background area, another one of these flower buds is present, so perhaps it leads to a Wonder Seed. The location itself resembles some sort of underground poisonous swamp, given all the pipes coming from the ceiling. There's also this strange snail creature slowly moving up the pipe. We then get a look at another part of the world map, along with Bowser's Castle. This space resembles a flower and has a vortex of petals coming from it, so perhaps it's a warp of sorts connecting each individual world. In the last few frames, we see the top of a building which we'll get a better look at later on, as well as this space to the right side. Next is another shot of a more cloudy world. 3 of these world's levels are clearly visible, but there's also 3 other locations. One has a sign with a Wonder Seed icon, so it likely requires us to have a certain amount of Wonder Seeds before it's available. I don't know what the structure at the top is supposed to be, though the shadow of this one suggests it's one of those buildings with the oval roofs. As Mario and Toad walk across, they pass what appears to be an NPC, so perhaps we'll be able to interact with them on the world map. It looks like the world map will consist of both linear and free roam areas. We see 3 different branching paths, 2 to the left, and this one I assume the player just came from. It may hint towards some level of freedom in what levels you play, especially since progression may be tied to how many Wonder Seeds you have collected. Plus, these levels don't seem to use the world-level format we've come to expect from Super Mario Bros. Games. Next, we see 3 players running across one of the game's levels. First off, the number of slots here corresponds to the amount of players, so perhaps each person will have their own item slot to store power-ups. Again, we see a timer at the top of the screen, but this time it's counting up. So this might be a time trial or race of sorts. Either they're being chased by this Wiggler on roller skates, or perhaps they're actually racing the Wiggler. A crown is also visible on Mario's head, so maybe this is to show who the leader is, or it's something given to the player who gets the highest score. The second possibility seems unlikely though, given that they removed the score feature. At the end of the shot is a new type of enemy, its head resembling a sort of mushroom, I think. After this is the only shot of the trailer where we get to see a level's multiple layers in action. In fact, it's not just the background which players can go to. Peach is clearly in the front, or foreground of this level. I also want to mention that this time the crown is over her head, and the first icon in this row is Peach's. At first, I thought this meant that the crown was marking player 1, but later scenes show that the crown is on characters which aren't at the front of the party. So I'm not too sure what the purpose of this crown is. Maybe as players you can assign one person as a leader, so you could switch it up. In the middle ground, the shot begins with a yellow toad pushing this green block. But since it's already in place, it means that it was probably pushed into this gap prior to the start of this footage. We can see an additional block in the foreground, so Peach is probably going to move this one as well. This is the second time we've seen a character push a block, which is really neat because it's something that past games never did. And it opens up the possibility of some puzzle elements being added into these levels. It's not much of a stretch to believe that maybe we can also pull blocks and not just push them. Other details include this pipe, which is probably the one Peach used to get here, a door located to the top left, which makes me think this might be some sort of ghost house, and the fact that Peach is currently in her Fireflower power-up outfit. There isn't much to say about this underwater section. We have confirmation of Cheep Cheeps returning, and unlike past games, you can now stomp on them when swimming. Although there are these new spiky enemies within the pipes to the right. Next is this room where Mario hits a switch to turn the lights off. As he does this, another Wonder Seed appears on the top right platform. In this case, the Wonder Seed isn't connected to a Wonder Flower, which confirms that we'll be finding them through a variety of means. It's also a different color when compared to our other two Wonder Seeds, so this level is likely taking place in a different world. Our baby Wiggler friend is also once again on the leader player's back, so perhaps this will be a companion sort of character. When the lights are off, this place resembles the aesthetic of this past shot, so maybe this other level has a lit version of the stage, or these two shots are of the same stage. The next bit of footage is taken in a mushroom-themed level, although these trees look very different from the ones of the Mushroom Kingdom. Mario is seen ground pounding on a new type of enemy, a stack of creatures resembling plant pots. We get a good look at all of the words which appear whenever the player is chaining a combo. It's much more stylish compared to past entries. The order is as follows: good, great, super, fantastic, excellent, incredible, and, of course, ends with wonderful. Continuing past this may reward us with additional lives similar to other games. At the bottom of these enemies are some breakable pumpkins, and destroying the one to the far left drops a bunch of coins. Followed up is a sequence atop some floating cloud platforms, where we get to see a familiar face, Yoshi, whose design more closely resembles the older look. In fact, a lot of the characters in this game have appearances as well as poses which call back to older games and artwork. The top left shows that Yoshi is his own playable character, but what's interesting is that Mario jumps onto Yoshi, making use of his flutter jump as he crosses the gap. So despite being a playable character, Yoshi will retain his ability of carrying people on his back, like in other Mario Bros. Games. The coins Mario collects in this footage were spawned in with this flower bud, and we see a new enemy, which visually resembles those sea urchin enemies from Link's Awakening and the Mario series. They appear to be following a counterclockwise path. Mario and Peach then jump off of a platform using some hats to glide across the gap. You can see that Mario is using his own hat to glide, while Peach has a similar looking hat, although it's pink and includes her own crown emblem. It's unclear whether this is a power-up or something which can be done at any time. However, to the left of this platform is some sort of structure with a sign that has the same parachute hat on it. So this is probably an item given to the player at the start of certain levels and taken away once that level is finished. Another detail worth mentioning is how, in this shot, there's no power-up slot, further suggesting that it has to do with this hat item. If I had to guess, this change was done to prevent players from bringing in power-ups for this level. The end of the shot also gives us confirmation that items such as coins and power-ups and bubbles will be returning. Next, we see 4 players grabbing onto some flowers and soaring upwards. If we compare this to past shots, this is being captured at that same hill at the end of World 1. The panel they're over has the same design as the one here. In fact, not only does this one also have that vortex of petals, but you can also see the other one in the background. It's likely that all 4 players are using the flowers to warp to World 2. We also get a better look at the house that was previously covered by Bowser's Castle. Maybe this building will act as a sort of shop, allowing us to exchange flower tokens for a variety of rewards. There's also this landmass seen further to the back right of the map. It may be part of World 2, or even another world. It sort of resembles a desert or oasis. A neat detail about a lot of these structures is that they're based off of warp pipes. Before leaving World 1, we see that the group has 14 Wonder Seeds. It doesn't match up with what we see in this shot, assuming that each level has 2. Luigi has already gotten the 2 from the first level, and there are 2 more ahead, making a total of 6. Well, there may be some additional levels that we can't yet see. It's also possible that these seemingly pointless spaces will actually branch off into multiple pathways. Next, we see Daisy and others grab another Wonder Flower. At first, it's not clear what it does, although if we compare both this and the following shot together, you'll notice that the entire stage has rotated slightly. As a result, the spiked ball begins moving, chasing our players across the stage. Another Wonder event happens as our characters are diving downward, collecting some coins hidden behind clouds. I'm not too sure what this Wonder event has changed, although given how much slower they're descending, maybe it's caused an updraft allowing them to glide downwards. Like our Rolling Hippo event, this also has a countdown, so perhaps they're trying to drop down fast enough to pick up a Wonder Seed. Before the shot ends, we see a smaller version of that cloud enemy in past footage, but this one is seen moving to the left. The next event shown off is what appears to be a mini-boss. Mario shoots some fireballs at a tiny Koopa closely resembling Bowser Jr. These don't seem to damage him, and immediately after he grows and Mario shrinks, likely due to the effects of a Wonder Flower event. This boss fight may consist of dodging when you're tiny and attacking when big. The overall design of Bowser Jr. is rather interesting. He's wearing a bandana which can open up as if it were a mouth, and as he transforms, the background changes to a more reddish color. Not much to say about this following Wonder event. A massive snowball rolls down and destroys the level's terrain, but we do get a brief glimpse of a snow-themed enemy who's eventually crushed by the snowball. Next is what I assume is a boss level, as Bowser's Castle is seen in the background. It's interesting how the hair on the top of the head is similar in design to the top of these houses. Rather than Mario or Peach, we have 4 differently colored Yoshis playing. A barrage of bullet bills resembling missiles rain down on the players, likely another Wonder event. Maybe Bowser's using the power of the Wonder Flowers to wreak havoc in the kingdom. Our second last shot is taken at the end of our pipe level, and we see the house to the right transform. We can't see what it looks like prior to transforming, but if I had to guess, the house is modeled after the face of Bowser's Castle. This bit at the top kind of resembles horns. It also might be the structure seen in the overworld shot, but I'm not entirely sure. As it transforms, that same smoke from Bowser's Castle is seen, so maybe the smoke is being used to turn everything in the world evil. The smoke in the background of this mini-boss fight also closely resembles it. In this sequence, we get a close-up of one of the new NPCs who rewards Mario with the second Wonder Seed of this level. As this happens, the baby Wiggler pops out during the victory pose. And, of course, the part which everyone lost their minds on, a new power-up transforming Mario into an elephant. We don't know if this is exclusively a Mario item similar to Toadette and the Super Crown, or if every character can turn into an elephant. It's possible that each character will have their own unique animal transformation. We get to see one functionality of Elephant Mario, where he uses his trunk to kill the sleeping Goomba. There's also a big flower token under these blocks, which I assume can be broken by Elephant Mario. But aside from that, I hope you enjoyed this analysis of Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I can't wait to get my hands on this game as I've been desperately wanting another mainline Mario game ever since Odyssey. If you enjoyed this breakdown, then I'd appreciate it if you consider subscribing to the channel. I do plenty of Zelda videos, but on occasions I like to branch out a bit more with Mario and other fun topics. I've been NintendoBlackCrisis, and I'll see you all next time.